Hi everybody, hope everyone's doing really well. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lee, and on this channel, I review movies that I watch. Mostly East Asian movies, because that's normally what I watch. I'm learning Japanese, so I watch Japanese movies like a lot. But you know, if someone was to ask nicely sometime, maybe I would review like an American movie. I don't know. But today we're going to be reviewing Tormented by Takashi Shimizu. If you see me looking down at any point, it's because I have my notes from the movie here. So Takashi Shimizu made Ju-on, or The Grudge, whatever you want to call it. Ju-on is the Japanese name. The Grudge is more what they used when they remade it in the United States. It's an iconic Japanese horror series. It's a lot of movies. The Ju-on has a lot of movies. It's iconic, like everybody knows what it is, right? So when I went into this movie, I was really excited because he's a good director. However, I was excited, but I can't say that I was like expecting a lot. This is awful, but I had watched a movie from him before this one, which actually these tie together, and I didn't realize that until I watched this movie, and I was like, what the hell, that's the other movie I just watched. I think it was called Labyrinth. It was actually called Labyrinth. It was called Labyrinth. Put it on the screen. Maybe I'll review that one, but it wasn't very good. Anyways, so this one is called Tormented. It is about Kiriko and her little brother, Daigo. So the movie opens with a rabbit in a pen, and its foot is injured, so it's like bleeding. And Daigo, one of our main characters, I guess, the little boy, Kiriko's brother, he is like standing at the entrance of the pen, like staring at the injured rabbit. He's just standing there. Then he picks up a rock and he runs toward the rabbit in the pen, like books it for the rabbit. And Kiriko, who's standing nearby, sees this and she runs after him. She tries to stop him, but it is too late. He crushes the rabbit with the rock and kills the rabbit. So sad. It sprays blood on Kiriko and she's just kind of standing there like, oh shit, while everybody gathers around and sees that he just killed this rabbit. Low-key, I wasn't mad at him. The rabbit was like twitching and its foot was injured, but it definitely was like on the brink of death anyway. I don't know what happened to it. I guess the foot injury was just that bad. But he kind of like low-key put out its misery, so I really can't say that I blame him that much. I think he did a good thing. And then they're burying the rabbit together while a group of people watches them do it, kind of horrified. I know I did just say that I totally understand why he killed the rabbit, but I can also totally understand why everybody was mortified, because he's like a little boy. He just has this murderous intent to kill a rabbit. Like, okay, damn, alright. We get the title sequence, and after that we see that Kiriko is working in like a library. Kiriko is basically our main character. She is Daigo's older sister, like I said. She's played by an actress I really like, but I can't for the life of me remember her name. I'll put it on the screen, but I do really like her. I've seen her in a lot of other stuff. And this little girl is reading The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid. But specifically the part where the Little Mermaid can't bring herself to kill the prince that she's in love with. So instead of killing him, she jumps off the boat into the ocean. The little girl is reading it, but she's like reading it out loud. So Kiriko walks over and shushes her and like, here you go. Here's the book. She gives her the book, and the little girl runs off. And then we get a fake out jump scare of Daigo sitting underneath Kiriko's desk. He's just sitting there like reading a book. But it's just, I fucking hate those jump scares. But yeah, we do get that. We get a fake little jump scare, and then it pans to all these boys at a table, and they're crowded around it, and they seem to be writing something on it. And Kiriko like claps at them, and they run off. I have literally no idea what was going on in this scene. It didn't make a ton of sense to me, because one of the boys just goes like this, and I'm like, what the hell was that? Like, but anyway, she runs over to the desk, which I said it was a table. I'm sorry, it's a desk. She runs over to it. I'm guessing it's Daigo's because they have vandalized it. They have carved a dead rabbit into it, and they have taken like markers and made like red markers and made it look like there was. And the little boy who did this, I don't know why he did that. He says, "Rabbit killer, rabbit killer," which I'm like, dude, he low key, he did the right thing. I know it was scary, but he did the right thing. So we can assume that Daigo is getting bullied by these kids because he's a little weirdo. He is weird though. He's weird. He doesn't really talk all that much, like at all. At least for now. Like in the first part of the movie, like he just doesn't speak that much. So terrified. And then she looks behind her, where she was sitting, and where her freaky little brother is sitting, and he's just like peeking out from the desk at her. He doesn't have a care in the world. He could care less that he killed a rabbit and that these people are bullying him for it. So then it cuts to the evening, and Kiriko is cleaning off the table. I don't know why it took this long. And then she begins to explain to us, the audience, what happened in the beginning of the movie. She says that Daigo killed the rabbit out of mercy, and that nobody could actually understand that it was an act of kindness, not malice. Which I do have to agree with her here. Like I said, he put the rabbit out of its misery, but also I can understand why people were terrified. It's like, it's an elementary school. They're literally in an elementary school, like all these little children just witnessed him kill a rabbit. They're terrified. They're mortified, you know? She says that after he killed the rabbit, Daigo hasn't gone to school anymore, but I guess that he still comes to school with her because she also works at the school. And he just sits with her all the time. So yeah, he has not been to school since he killed the rabbit. Probably because of the bullying, and also maybe the school was probably like, yeah, we don't want him here. We don't low-key want him here because he kills rabbits. You know, I don't know. Then it jumps from her cleaning off the table and explaining stuff to us that they're at a restaurant. And they're attending the birthday party for the little girl who was reading The Little Mermaid in the library earlier, but they, like, don't care. They're not participating at all in the birthday party. They're sitting in the corner talking to each other. They're not interacting with the little girl at all. And then Kiriko is writing on a piece of paper while she and Daigo are dialoguing. And so then we see that she's mute. She can hear him, so she's not deaf, she's mute. She doesn't speak. She writes everything in pieces of paper. So when I said earlier that she was explaining to us, it's like in her head. It's like an inner dialogue explaining to the audience that he killed the rabbit out of mercy. So she's mute. She can't speak. She writes on pieces of paper. So that's what they're doing. They're dialoguing. I don't want to say talk because they're not talking. She's writing on a piece of paper, and then he's answering her, speaking, and then she answers on a piece of paper. She then explains to us again. So she does this sometimes. She explains to us that her and Daigo have different mothers. They have the same father, but they have different mothers. And that his mother died in childbirth, so he never got to meet her. I don't really know what happened to her mother. I don't think it ever says. I guess maybe she died too, because we'll get to it, but later on in the movie she says that her father lost 2 women he really loved, so I guess her mom died too. I don't know. So then, because they do not care about this little girl's birthday party, she writes on a piece of paper asking Daigo what he wants to do for his birthday because it's coming up. And he says he doesn't want to do anything. Then, after all of this dialogue, which is important to the story, you know, it's not just, oh damn, his mom's dead. Shit. It's important to the story. We'll get there later. Anyway, after this, we cut and we meet their father, Kiriko and Daigo's father. He's a storybook writer, and he is currently working on pop-up storybooks about mermaids. Kiriko said he threw himself into work after losing both women he loved, and he has forgotten Daigo's birthday this year. So I can only assume this meant that Kiriko's mother died too, and then he remarried, and then she died as well. Then, I have this in my notes, it cuts to one of the scenes from Takashi Shimizu's other movie, Labyrinth, that I just mentioned earlier, and I said, here are my notes, which I also watched, but didn't really like. I didn't like it, but anyways, it turns out that they are watching it in 3D in the movie theater. Daigo and Kiriko are watching this movie in the movie theater together. The stuffed rabbit, which is haunted in Labyrinth, it's haunted by this ghost girl. It comes flying out of the screen, which to Kiriko looks normal. To Kiriko and Daigo it looks normal because they have 3D glasses on. But then Daigo realizes that it has actually come out of the screen. And not just like the optical illusion, and he grabs it because Kiriko she doesn't notice, she's watching the movie, and he stuffs it in his bag. And then in my notes I said, right now I'm seriously confused on whether or not these 2 movies are linked. Spoiler alert, they kind of are, a little bit, but not too much, but like a little bit. So anyway, now it cuts to Kiriko and Daigo, they're on a bunk bed together. Kiriko is asleep at the bottom and Daigo is awake on the top, about to open the bag with the bunny inside. And then he gets up and he begins walking through the house in the dark. Sorry, I don't know why I just unfocused like that. And then he sees droplets of blood going up the steps. And I wanted to add here, I added my notes, the house looks like the house in Ju-on, which I think with Takashi Shimizu, he really likes to do nods to his other movies in his other movies, I've noticed, which I think is cool, but it can also get a little confusing. Daigo walks up the steps, following the blood trail, and there is this like closet hole thing in the wall. It has a door that you can open and close it, and I guess it's like a closet or like storage. I've literally never seen it before. He looks in, it's pitch black, but then a figure runs by, which is another like little jump scare thing. It's like a white figure. Then the bunny runs at Daigo, the stuffed bunny, runs at him in a very poorly made jump scare because the quality looked really bad. This movie is older, I think, so the special effects in it don't look very good. Just a heads up if you ever want to watch it, the special effects do not look very good. As Daigo tries to shut the door, a person in this like really freaky looking bunny suit pops out and drags him into the closet thing. He's in a whole new universe where he's at this carnival thing. It's like a desolate carnival, there's like nobody around. The water ripples and then it was daytime, but then it quickly turns night. And then in my notes here I said, I've been dogging on the effects of this movie, but I did like this one because the reflection of one of the rides in the water rippling as the sun turns to a moon was actually kind of cool. Which it was. That was like one of the only cool effects in the movie, was it turning quickly from morning to night. Person in the bunny suit pops up and it scares Daigo, and whatever this thing is, it makes a weird creaking noise and crunching. It's like, I don't know how to describe the creaking, but the crunching sounds like its bones are crunching inside of the outfit, inside of the bunny suit. So then we get 3 different angles. You know, in like Korean variety shows where something funny happens and they have to show you it like 3 different times. 모두 우리 쳐다봐, 쳐다봐. 비행을 타리는 모두 우리 쳐다봐. 비행을 타리는 마차, 타리는 마차. That's what happened with this, which pissed me off because I hate when they do that in variety shows, and so I didn't like when they did this and this either. But he's like throwing his hands up in the air, and squealing like a pig, and the carnival lights up and comes to life. Like all the rides come on. All of this stuff is happening. Very cool. I liked this too. I won't lie. It was one of the only things that looked good, low-key. And then Daigo rides the carousel with the bunny man, who isn't hostile towards Daigo, but he is freaky looking. It is unsettling. It feels very weird. Daigo then hears Kiriko calling for him, which I'm like, can she speak now? Can she speak now? She's calling for him. Why is she talking? Why is she talking? But this causes it to begin to rain in the carnival, and Daigo like reaches out his hand to touch the rain, and the effects looked really, really bad during this part. Like the green screen that like green screens the carousel in the background, it looked so bad. Anyway, the rain begins to slow down after Daigo has touched it, and it's like freezing in the air, and the bunny man starts running through the rain, or like running away in the rain. Daigo follows him, and then they run down this trail of the carnival, and now they're at this like old dilapidated shed. The bunny man urges Daigo to go inside of the shed, which gave me like weird like pedophile vibes. I was not loving that. I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? But then Daigo is like taking too long to make a decision on whether or not he wants to actually go in the shed. So the bunny man just shoves him in there. Just shoves him right in the shed. And then follows after him, and then they're in a new setting, and the bunny starts squealing like a pig again. The bunny man. Not the bunny stuffed animal. The bunny man starts squealing like a pig. We haven't seen the bunny stuffed animal since it ran at Daigo. Now they're in front of a hospital, and it's abandoned, and there are other mascots hanging from the trees, like dangling, which scares Daigo, obviously. He's like a little boy. It would scare me too. Excuse me. See, I'm getting really worked up. It would scare the fuck out of me. And then we hear Kiriko telling him to run, which again, why the fuck can she talk? But I guess because they're in this fantasy world, she can do whatever the hell she wants. But when she does, he tries to run, the bunny man grabs him, and all of a sudden he turns from, you know, a cute like normal bunny costume to like a hyper realistic one, and I will say it did creep me out a little bit. And this scares Daigo even more, which valid, and he is like trying to get away from this pedo ass bunny thing. Then the bunny man slams this child, this like elementary schooler, up against the gates of the hospital. Slams him. And then Daigo is like pulling at the gate, and he's like begging for someone to save him. Kiriko, back in the real world, hears somebody crying. So she like goes to investigate, and she goes upstairs to the hole in the wall, the closet thing, and she pulls Daigo out because she sees him in there, and she pulls him out, and he just like cries about the bunny, and she's confused, but she can't speak again. I don't know how she could speak the first time. And he like calms down after he's crying a little bit, and he's like, I'm fine, don't worry about me. And then he goes to bed. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, you were not fine. You were just crying. Whatever. So then the camera pans down the steps, and we see that now it's splotches of dirt instead of puddles of blood. Like Daigo saw. He saw puddles of blood. Kiriko sees splotches of dirt. Then we go to the next day, and we get to see Daigo and Kiriko's dad a little bit more. He's brushing his teeth, and he like rinses his mouth out with water, but it pissed me off because he swallowed the water that he just rinsed his mouth out with. Why did you swallow the toothpaste water? You're fucking disgusting. And then, I'm not even joking, he makes fucking coffee out of the cup that he just rinsed his mouth out with. Which, I mean, I guess if you're tight on a budget, you gotta do what you gotta do, but ew. Ew. Anyways, Kiriko comes into the kitchen because he was brushing his teeth in the kitchen, and he offers her a cup of coffee. She accepts, and then she writes on her notepad that Daigo was in the closet thing last night, and that something is wrong, and she's worried. And her dad is just like, I have to go back to work. I have to go back to work. And he shoves her out of his office and locks her out. I don't know. They were in the kitchen. I don't know why they're in the office now. Maybe it's both. The kitchen is the office. Then Kiriko gives us more inner dialogue, which is helpful to understand the story, where she talks about when she was little, her dad used to read The Little Mermaid to her. Little Mermaid is huge symbolism in this movie. Yeah. And the story resonated with her because Ariel gave up her voice to be with the prince, and Kiriko lost her voice at a young age and can't speak because she's mute. Kiriko says that she wishes she could talk to Daigo, and that she could connect with him because she's really worried about him. And while she's talking about this, we see Daigo is drawing a picture of the bunny man. He quickly like scribbles it out. Daigo and Kiriko's father goes to the closet thing, storage thing, that's the hole in the wall, and he goes inside and he grabs a box, and he's like looking inside the box, and it's pictures and different things from his late wife, but her face is like scribbled out in some pictures. And as he's doing this, a woman appears behind him and starts like moving toward him, which is his late wife. But when he like looks to the side, she's gone. She's disappeared. This scene was honestly really tense for a second and like really had me like, ooh. But they lost the momentum super quickly. Like they really didn't do much with it. So this is really disappointing, honestly. And then their father comes out, he shuts the door, he locks it, and he nails it shut because something clearly startled him in there, which I guess is just feeling the presence of the woman behind him, but we don't really know what startled him. That's what I can guess what it was. Daigo gets out of bed again. He gets out of bed again because this kid can't take a hint. He just gets out of bed again, and he notices feathers floating around the room, which this was a visual in Labyrinth too, the other movie. Then Daigo walks up to Kiriko. She's sleeping on the bottom bunk, and he like bends down to look at her face, and suddenly Bunny Man is back, but he reaches through her fucking pillow and pulls her through the pillow. Okay, and then we're in this new place. Okay, then the carnival again, and the Bunny Man pulls Daigo straight up out of his bunny suit and just throws him on the ground, and then we see he pulls Kiriko's head out of his bunny suit, but only her head. Daigo is like freaking out. He's trying to wake Kiriko up, and the whole time the bunny is like making weird like squelching noises. I was not enjoying it. I don't enjoy the noises that the bunny makes in this movie. It is creepy. It's effective. I think it's one of the only effective things in the movie to unsettle you, but it's like squelching noises while Kiriko's head is just like hanging out of the bunny suit. Then Daigo keeps trying to wake Kiriko up, but then the bunny man just like walks away. And so Daigo follows him because that's his sister. He's not about to let her die. He loves her, even though he never says anything. And so he's running after the bunny, and they're at this abandoned hospital again. And then the bunny turns towards Daigo, shoves Kiriko into his bunny suit, zips it up, and walks into the hospital. Daigo follows him in, but he gets lost really quickly, and a woman appears behind him and says his name, and I was like, this is his mom. This is definitely his mom. And so we can assume this is his mother. But when he turns around, she's gone. Daigo keeps wandering the hospital until he sees the bunny man again, in which the bunny man starts to take the head of the bunny suit off, and it reveals long black hair and the half part of a woman's face. She says his name again, but he turns around and runs off, but quickly the bunny woman, we've now learned, catches up to him. But when she touches him, he's now in a different hospital, or a different part of the hospital. It's not dilapidated anymore. We're in a different reality where this hospital is not dilapidated. And there are wooden puppets as doctors carrying this woman, this injured woman, by on a gurney. And as they pass Daigo, the injured woman reaches out to him and says his name again. So we can assume, again, that this is his mother because remember, she died in childbirth. Then we see a young Kiriko. She's holding Daigo, like baby Daigo, and she's smiling. Then Daigo, poor little guy, he's transported again, but now he's laying inside of a coffin. He's laying inside of a coffin and he's rightfully freaking out, and the coffin opens to reveal Kiriko and Kiriko's dad. Kiriko is crying, and Kiriko's dad just kind of looks into the coffin, says that they should go, and shuts the coffin. Then the camera like pans off to the side, and we see that there's a woman laying next to Daigo, dead. She's dead, but then all of a sudden, her eyes open. She turns to look at Daigo, and her eyes start bleeding. Her eyes start bleeding. And her hair, her long black hair, begins to tangle around Daigo, which makes him freak out even more, rightfully so. And he is like screaming for Kiriko, like screaming for someone to help him. Which, valid. So eventually his screaming wakes Kiriko up, which, what took you so long, girl? I guess because she was inside the bunny woman's costume. But she runs back to that hole in the wall, the closet, and she's like freaking out because she knows Daigo's inside, but remember, her father has nailed it shut. So she's like tearing at it. She's fucking crazy. She opens it with her bare strength, grabs Daigo, and is like pulling on him. But the bunny woman is also pulling on him. So they're having a little tug of war with little Daigo, and they're tugging. Kiriko gets a glimpse of the bunny woman's face, and she freezes, and she falls backwards. And then she's starting to get images of the carnival, the carousel, and the stuffed bunny that Daigo had from earlier, which is actually from the Labyrinth movie. Daigo manages to free himself at no help of Kiriko. Having a damn trauma response over here. I'm kidding. But then now their father has joined them because he's like, what the fuck is all this commotion about? And their father is like, did you see it again? Did you see the bunny suit again? So we can infer that this is actually not the first time that Kiriko has ever seen the bunny woman. She's seen her before. And so Kiriko doesn't say anything. He seems really annoyed, so he just kind of shuts and locks the closet and moves on with his life, I'm gonna be so honest. Kiriko is then like in this like trance, I don't know, but she like runs her hand along the closet door, and Daigo is like calling for her, and she's not answering at all. And so then her dad forces her to sit back and he like drapes a jacket over her. And then Kiriko's dad says that he's been working on a storybook, a pop-up storybook where a mermaid gives up her voice for her legs, which is literally just the plot of The Little Mermaid, so I don't know if he thought he was being original, or if he's just making a remake. I don't know. He acts like it was his work, like it's not. But he says that, and he says, I wonder what Kiriko gave her voice up for. Which I felt like was a little fucked, but we'll get into the dad later. I really didn't like him at first, but later on I was like, yeah, okay, I get this guy. I understand him. And then it cuts to the next day where Kiriko and Daigo's father is on the phone with this man, and he's saying that Kiriko's condition is back, which again implies that she has seen this bunny thing before, and that she's getting worse. But he does mention that Daigo is still acting the same. I don't know what that means. I don't know what Daigo acting the same means. Freaky and creepy? Probably. Kiriko comes into the kitchen, so her dad like quickly hangs up the phone and fake smiles and asks if Kiriko is doing any better. And then Kiriko is writing on her pad, her little notepad, but her dad interrupts and says, we should go to Kyoko's grave. Kyoko is what we can assume Daigo's mother and Kiriko's dad's late wife, his second wife. But we see Kiriko, she like shoves her notepad towards her dad and it says, Kyoko is coming, I saw her, Daigo too. This pisses her dad off. He gets really mad and he threatens to send her back to the hospital, which this clearly scares her, and she like runs away. She runs away from the kitchen. So that night, Kiriko goes to the closet thing and goes inside to look around, but when she's inside, the door shuts behind her, and so she's like a little freaked out, but she's not as freaked out as I think I would be. I would be really freaked out, but she's not as freaked out as I think I would be. Sorry if you hear that in the back. I live near an elementary school and that plays every day at like 5 o'clock. Anyway, so she peeks through the little keyhole that's in the closet, and we see what is essentially the same scenery, but it's clearly different. It's more youthful looking. And as she looks through the keyhole, we see a younger version of her looking back at us, or looking back at her rather. But the way that it's shot is looking back at us. Once younger Kiriko has left, our Kiriko leaves the closet and steps out into the stairs. Younger self runs past Kiriko, so we can see that older Kiriko is just like an invisible spectator. We see that younger Kiriko is running to the door to greet her father, very excited. She seems very excited. There is a woman with her father whenever the door opens. This is Kyoko, this is Daigo's mother. Kiriko is clearly not pleased by this. She's clearly not happy about Kyoko being here. Kyoko tries to give Kiriko a cake and introduce herself, but Kyoko just kind of brushes her off and is not really pleasant toward her. Is not really feeling it. Kiriko is like ignoring her, like I said, and her dad is like, greet her, and Kiriko's still just not saying that much. So Kyoko takes her shoes off and Kiriko's like, can you line them up properly? Which, damn. I can't say that I can blame her that much, because it is really hard when you're introducing new people into your family, especially when your mother died and you probably feel like your dad is moving on too quickly. So I kind of understand where Kiriko is coming from, in all honesty. Even if she's being a bitchy little kid, like I can understand where she's coming from completely. So then Kyoko squats down to fix the shoes, but Kiriko also squats down to fix the shoes, and they bump each other, which causes Kiriko to fall back and hit the mirror that's behind her. The mirror falls forward and hits both of them. Kiriko's father, which he did piss me off in this scene, didn't check on his daughter at all. He was asking Kyoko if her belly was okay, so we can assume that she's pregnant with Daigo at this point. Which I get you're worried about your woman and her pregnancy, but you should also be checking on your kid. Which is valid because we see that Kiriko actually has this large ass shard of glass in her hand. So now we know where she got this scar on her hand from that I had never noticed before, but it like shows it. I don't know, whatever. So Kyoko tries to tend to Kiriko, but Kiriko like shoves her away and runs up to her room. So then we see Kiriko in her room, young Kiriko, and she's staring at herself in the mirror and she's like touching her hair, and she gets like flashbacks to Kyoko because Kyoko has long hair. And she gets really upset by this. She doesn't want long hair like Kyoko, so she begins to chop her hair off into the short bob that we see her have in her adulthood. So now we're transported somewhere else. We're still in a flashback because older Kiriko is still watching as an invisible spectator, but now we're at that carnival that the bunny keeps bringing Daigo to in the alternate universe. But young Kiriko and her father are sitting on a bench together. Kiriko asks if Kyoko is having her father's baby and if they're going to get married, while she's holding this bento. Hi everyone, sorry, it's like a couple days later, so the lighting's different. I have new glasses, I have different shirt on. Sorry, my camera almost died, the other day anyways, and also I had to leave, so I think I had to go to an interview, I don't remember, but anyways, we're gonna pick up where I left off. Sorry about that. As I mentioned before, Kiriko and her father, young Kiriko, are sitting on the bench, talking, well, not really talking. Kiriko asks him if he's going to get married to Kyoko and if Kyoko is having his baby. And she also asks if the bento that they brought with them, if Kyoko made it. Kiriko's father says yes, that she did make the bento, and so Kiriko will not eat it. He feels really defeated, so he just gets up and tells her that he's gonna go get them some drinks, and she sits on the bench alone. She opens the bento like really aggressively, and she starts eating the onigiri inside of it really aggressively while crying. She says it's just not fair. She says it's not fair, which I kind of understand her in this scene. Like, is she a brat? Yeah, but is she also a little girl? Yes. So let's think about that. So then someone in that bunny suit, that damn bunny suit, approaches Kiriko, which kind of surprises her. She's like, whoa. And like taps her on the shoulder and invites her to follow them. Kiriko agrees and they ride the carousel together. Kiriko sees her dad like waving in the distance, so she waves back to him, and the person in the bunny suit takes the bunny head off, and it reveals that it's Kyoko. And she hands Kiriko the stuffed bunny that is from Labyrinth and is from earlier that Daigo got from the movie. It's that stuffed bunny. She hands it to Kiriko and says, "Happy birthday!" It's Kiriko's birthday today. Hence why they're at the carnival. I don't know if I mentioned that before. I honestly can't remember. I'm sorry if I already mentioned that. But it is her birthday today. It's Kiriko's birthday. The whole time this is happening, by the way, adult Kiriko is just kind of like standing off to the side and watching. Again, she's invisible. Nobody can see her. She's just kind of spectating. So Kiriko is really upset that the person in the bunny costume is Kyoko. So she pushes Kyoko down. And the bunny falls on the carousel. And then we see Kiriko get off the carousel because it stops, and she's carrying baby Daigo. He's screaming and crying like baby, like freshly out the womb baby Daigo. Kiriko's father runs past her because he's like, what the fuck happened to Kyoko? While Kiriko just kind of stands there with baby Daigo, and it's just like, walking forward, holding him. Then we're kind of like focusing back on adult Kiriko now, because then she's transported to that same hospital that Daigo was in earlier, and it's the exact same scene that we saw with Daigo, where the woman passes on the stretcher, she reaches out, except she's reaching out to Kiriko now. However, this time, we know that Daigo saw Kiriko holding him. Daigo saw young Kiriko holding him as a baby. However, when Kiriko looks down, she's holding the stuffed bunny and it's all bloody. She's not holding baby Daigo like she was when she got off the carousel. So, keep that in mind. That's important. That's important. So finally, Kiriko is taken back to the present, to today, to Kyowa today. And she says that she does recall being the one to deliver Daigo that day, which is like, okay, what? I mean, everybody, when you have like traumatic events, obviously your brain like blocks it off, but like you don't remember delivering your baby brother on a carousel. Okay. So then Kiriko shows Daigo a picture of his mother, of Kyoko, and he concludes that his mother is the one in the bunny suit and is trying to take him away. And he says that he should have never been born, and Kiriko shakes her head. She's like, no. So after that, it cuts to a scene where the siblings are burning the bunny. They throw it in a furnace. I don't know where the hell they are. They're just like in this like clearing with the furnace, and they throw it in the furnace and they burn it. And it's a pretty short scene. So then we cut to the next day, and it's Daigo's birthday, which we also now see is Kiriko's birthday too, because remember, she delivered Daigo on her birthday. So they share a birthday, which she never mentioned before. We just now figured that out from the flashback. Kiriko is working in the library, which is in the school. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. It's not a standalone library. It is inside the school. She works at the school that Daigo attended. She's watching the two little boys that were vandalizing the desk in the beginning of the movie, because it looks like they are vandalizing it again. And we see Daigo is sitting next to her on the ground again, reading a book, being creepy. I think he's really creepy. And he's stupid. He's a stupid little kid. Pissing me off. Then it cuts to the scene, which I assume is in the same day, where Kiriko's father is on the phone with someone talking about getting Kiriko treatment. It's the same doctor from earlier. I don't know why I said someone. It's the same doctor from earlier he was talking to, saying that Kiriko's symptoms are coming back, and like she saw the bunny again, and then he mentions that Daigo is the same, whatever that means. It's the same doctor. Kiriko's father mentions that Kiriko has been talking about seeing her dead mother again. So again, we can assume this has happened before. And the doctor asks Kiriko's father where she might be, because they need to get her in the hospital immediately for treatment. And he says that she is probably at the school, because that's where she works. And so the doctor's like, yeah, go get her. Go get her. You need to bring her here right now. So then we're back at school, and Kiriko and Daigo are getting ready to leave. Kiriko shifts up. She's out of here with Daigo.
Hi, this is Brittany, 12 hours before my shift. 12 hours after my shift.
And Daigo is like looking out the window as Kiriko is packing things up, and he sees the bunny woman outside of the school. He panics, and he's like yelling for Kiriko. She looks over. She sees it too. So then they start running through the school. And the bunny woman just teleports in the school. And they're running away from her. She corners them, and then all of a sudden she turns into the stuffed bunny and she just falls on the ground. Sorry, that was my visual representation. And Daigo picks it up, and I'm like, as Kiriko's trying to stop him, by the way, she's like, don't touch it. He picks it up, and he's like, I don't understand, I burned this with my own two hands, which is not true. Kiriko burned it, so I don't know what the hell he's talking about there, but anyway, he says that they need to go back to the movie theater because that's where he got the bunny in the first place. So they go back to the movie theater, and they go see Labyrinth again, And when the scene comes on where the bunny is, he attempts to throw it back into the screen because remember it came out of the screen before. So he tries to throw it back into the screen and it pulls him into the movie. The bunny, stuffed animal, the bunny woman, whatever, pulls him back into the movie. And Kiriko tries to follow him, but obviously she can't. She can't follow him into a movie. So she's like freaking out. She's like clawing at the, because you know in movie theaters there's no screen. It's a projector on like a, I mean there is a screen technically for the projector to go onto, but it's really like not. It's not like a TV screen. So she's like clawing at the wall and stuff, and the security has to come and get her and pull her away. So then she is taken to the hospital because the doctor said that she needs to be in the hospital immediately. So she's taken to the hospital and they put her in a straitjacket while she's like screaming and crying and freaking out and saying that Daigo, she needs to go get him. And her father reveals the big twist of the movie. I don't know why I did finger quotes. It's the twist of the movie that Daigo never existed. He never existed, and she did not deliver a baby that day. Daigo was never born in the first place. That Kyoko died before she ever gave birth to Daigo. So yeah. This twist was so boring. I'll like continue in a second, but this twist was so boring. Like, so predictable, so boring. I'm sorry. Maybe you guys won't feel like that if you decide to watch this movie. Which, I mean, it already got spoiled for you if you've gotten this far, but, you know, like, if you decided to click off this video beforehand and then go watch it and then come back and watch it, whatever you want to do, like, I don't know, like, maybe you'll like it, but I thought it was so boring. I thought it was so predictable. I thought, like, oh my god. It's like so many movies have that twist where it's like, oh, the little sibling is not alive, the mom isn't alive, the dad isn't alive, things like the family member is not alive. The really strange family member that everyone just kind of avoids is not alive. So, anyways, I didn't like that twist. But let's continue because we've still got, honestly, a lot to cover. There's still like a lot of the movie left. I don't remember how long the movie is left. I didn't put timestamps in my notes. Maybe I should do that next time. But there's still quite a bit of the movie left, even though the twist has just been revealed that Daigo is not actually alive. Also, sorry if you see cardboard back here. In Japan, you can only take certain things out on certain days, like trash-wise, and it is not cardboard day yet, so there's just cardboard back there. So, in the hospital, the doctor and Kiriko's father speak in the hallway about Kiriko's condition, and apparently it started about 10 years ago, because he says, like, why is it back after 10 years? So we can assume, yeah, it started 10 years ago. The doctor says that he has no idea why it's come back after 10 years, but literally the only way that she can get better is if she accepts reality and accepts the fact that Daigo is not alive and that he's never been alive, and that she has been imagining him. He says that her delusions are brought on by the fact that she's so guilty and sad about the fact that she basically killed Kyoko. So that's what happened in the carousel. She pushed Kyoko down and killed her. I don't know how that killed her low-key, but I don't know how a push killed her, but it did. It did. Not right on the spot. She died in the hospital, but still. Stems from the sorrow and guilt of killing Kyoko and her unborn brother. Then Kiriko has a dream. We see she has a dream where she's on the carousel and we see that she was in fact the one who killed Kyoko in the bunny suit. And we see instead she walks off the carousel holding the bunny that had fallen on the ground that Kyoko had tried to give her for her birthday. Except it's all bloody now and she's just kind of holding it like a baby and just like walking off while her father runs past her to check on Kyoko, who is bleeding out on the carousel. I would imagine, I guess it doesn't really completely explain what happens to Kyoko, but I think I can infer, I think I can infer that when she was pushed down, it caused her to miscarry, and when you miscarry, you bleed a lot. So I'm guessing that she basically bled out, and that was how she died because of her miscarriage. She died in the hospital though, so I don't know. And apparently, after she killed Kyoko, she treated the stuffed bunny like a baby, which infuriated her father, rightfully so. And he took the bunny away from her and hid it in hopes that she would go back to normal, which didn't work. Sorry about the absolutely awful camera quality, but I would like to add that during this time, after her father took the bunny from her, she stopped speaking. So she spoke up until he took the bunny away from her, and then she stopped speaking. I forgot to add that, so I just realized when I was editing. When Kiriko wakes up, she somehow escapes the hospital. I have no idea. She was in a fucking straitjacket. Like, I don't know how she escaped. But she escapes and she goes back home to her shared home, where Daigo should be. And she gets flashbacks of Daigo when she walks into their room. And she sees, as she walks into the room, that there's actually only a single bed. There's not a bunk bed like previously, where Daigo slept on the top bunk and she slept on the bottom one. There's only a single bed. She also looks at the little advent calendar she's been keeping, which I forgot to mention that, but it's not that important. It's just a little advent calendar she had counting down to Daigo's birthday. But we see, actually, it's her birthday. Like I said, it's her birthday today, it's not Daigo's. Well, it would have been Daigo's, I guess. Sorry. Editing Lee here again. I'm sorry. I forgot a pretty important detail. When Kiriko realizes that Daigo is no longer, like, not no longer alive, but realizes that he's never existed in the first place, she starts to realize that she did everything that she thought he did. So she killed the rabbit. She, like, was talking to nobody when he would sit in the library with her. Stuff like that. Like, things that he did, she actually did. And she starts to realize that. Especially the rabbit thing. She remembers that she killed the rabbit and not Daigo. So, as she's looking through everything, she's kind of finally realizing that Daigo is dead and is, like, coming to terms with the fact that he actually was never alive in the first place. While her father, who is now home, is, like, watching her sadly while she realizes that her brother's actually not even alive or existed in the first place. So then we're greeted with a shot of the picture book that her father has been working on, and she says, Kiriko is explaining to us, she says that the mermaid just needed one drop of the prince's blood to get her voice back. But the mermaid couldn't bring herself to stab the prince. Because of that, the mermaid never got her voice back and disappeared into a bubble, and Kiriko wonders if the mermaid was ever happy. So a month has passed since Kiriko kind of accepts that Daigo's dead, and Kiriko's father and the doctor are having a discussion. And Kiriko's father says that he doesn't know how to help Kiriko and he doesn't know how to fix what's wrong with her. And the doctor says he might not truly be able to help her until he truly understands what's going on in his own mind. So pretty deep. Thanks, Doc. Pretty deep. So then we see that Kiriko and Kiriko's father go and visit Kyoko's grave, and it seems that Kiriko is finally starting to heal a little bit. They just have a nice little moment, I guess. They visit her grave, and then they walk away. But it does seem that the dad is having, like, he has, like, a weird feeling, you know? He's feeling weird. So that evening, we see he's working on one of his picture books, and he sees Daigo's reflection sitting on the couch, like in the reflection in the window in front of him. He sees Daigo sitting on the couch behind him in the reflection. When he turns around, obviously Daigo is not there, but he does see the sketchbook from earlier in the movie that Daigo drew the bunny woman in. The next morning, we can see Kiriko is getting rid of the pressed flowers she made for Daigo for his birthday every year. that was also, I think, something I forgot to mention, but also not really super that important. She made him pressed flowers every year for his birthday and hung it up on the wall. But she's getting rid of them. And she suddenly gets like a weird feeling. And the way that this is shot, honestly, is really cool. I did really like it. We see her standing there, and behind her is the wall where the bunk bed was, but now it's just the single bed, right? And there's shadows on the wall because of the sun coming in, and we can see on the shadows on the wall, we can see the shadow of Daigo running up the bunk and getting on the top bunk, except, you know, there's no bunk bed there anymore. This prompts Kiriko to run into her dad's office and like look for him. And in his office, she does not find him, but she finds a bunch of dark cutouts of things. I don't know what they were, just dark cutouts. And then the picture from Tomino's Hell, you know that the Japanese urban legend, like you read the poem out loud and you'll die. You know that picture, like it's freaky as fuck. I'll put it on the screen. That's in this movie. Like, it's just sitting on the thing. I was like, okay, pop culture reference, okay. And then an umbilical cord. There's an umbilical cord just chilling right there, right next to Tomino's Hell. I feel bad saying that because the artist who made the picture that they used for Tomino's Hell, the picture is supposed to depict like how she felt after being assaulted. So I'm sorry, I don't even know the artist's name. That's the only thing I can associate it with, is that's Tomino's Hell. In a panic, she calls her dad, and it seems he's at the carnival with Daigo. So they're like sharing a delusion now. I don't know why he's sharing a delusion now, but he thinks Daigo's real. They're at the carnival together. Kiriko takes a cab to the carnival, and she runs up to an employee and asks him if there's a hospital nearby. And he like gets on his little intercom thing that's on his shirt and is like asking. And then before he can even answer her, she like runs off, and he's like, "Hey, hello, I was asking for you." She runs off to this hospital, opens up the rusty old gates, and goes inside. The hospital that they took Kyoko to when she was bleeding out. Because remember that they were at the carnival, and so if there's a hospital nearby, obviously they're taking her to that hospital that's nearby. Kiriko goes inside, and she sees her dad further down the hallway being led away by Daigo, so she follows them. Eventually, she makes it to this staircase, which is actually the exact same one from Labyrinth. That's like a main kind of focal point in that movie. Again, like, it pisses me off that these movies are kind of linked, because you might be hella confused if you've never seen Labyrinth. Because when you watch Labyrinth, you have not needed to watch Tormented, but if you watch Tormented, I feel like you had to have watched Labyrinth. So it's like, I don't know. But anyway, she gets to the staircase, and it's the exact same one from that movie, but I digress. And Daigo is at the bottom of it, okay? She's like looking down, he's at the bottom of it. His eyes are black, so I guess he's evil now. Like, because that means he's evil. If his eyes are black, that means he's evil. Evil Daigo, which is what I'm going to call him. Evil Daigo throws the bunny up the staircase. Okay, he's throwing it up toward Kiriko. So this causes her to look up, and she sees a normal Daigo at the top. Now she's suddenly at the bottom of the staircase. I don't know what the hell's going on. So she runs up the staircase to get to Daigo, the regular looking Daigo, non-evil Daigo. And when she gets up there to him, he pulls a knife out of the stuffed bunny and says that she has to kill him. He's like holding the knife out to her and is like, "You have to kill me." What the fuck is going on? So she's crying and freaking out, but she ultimately does stab Daigo. But surprise, surprise, she actually stabbed herself. I was literally thinking that the whole time I was sitting there watching this freaking movie. I was like, she's gonna stab him, and it's either gonna be that she stabbed her dad or she stabbed herself. Whatever. So then Daigo's eyes turn black again, because he's actually evil Daigo. Oh my god. He backs her up to the like railing of the staircase, and he's like, "Bye bye, sis." That's what he says. I don't know if he was like, "Bye bye, One-san." I don't know, whatever. One is girl. Yeah, I don't know, that's what he... "Bye bye, sis." Backed her up, pushes her off. She falls through the air. She's falling very slowly down this staircase. And Daigo like drops the stuffed rabbit, so it falls with her too. So beautiful and symbolic, so beautiful. Sorry I keep shifting around. I'm sitting on the floors, it's not always very comfortable. My book keeps falling asleep. Kiriko starts screaming, and then she realizes, oh my god, I got my voice back. And so then a bubble encases her, just like the mermaid in her dad's story. Which I wouldn't really even call this her dad's story because it's the freaking Little Mermaid. Her dad is not original. So then she falls to her death, obviously, alongside the stuffed rabbit. But the rabbit gets up. It gets up. It gets up when it falls to the ground, and it just walks off. I'm guessing this is supposed to be Daigo, the rabbit. So anyway, she died. Kiriko's dead. So then the movie ends with Kiriko's father sitting on a bench outside with like ambulances and stuff around the hospital, and he's got a blanket wrapped around him. You know how they do that when you're like a survivor or whatever, they always give you a blanket. So he's just sitting on a bench, and he gets up off the bench and smiles and begins walking away, and then he drops the blanket off of him, and it reveals that Daigo's right next to him, holding his hand, and he says, "Happy birthday, Daigo." Roll credits. The movie's over. So, what did I think of this movie? I don't know. I didn't like it that much, but it wasn't boring, I would say. It wasn't a boring movie. Like, I didn't ever feel the need to, like, scroll on my phone. It was engaging, at least. I will give it that. Like, I will give it that it wasn't boring, but the plot twist was super predictable. The quality of the movie was not great. Like, the effects and stuff weren't very good at all. I get the movie's a little older, but still, like, damn. We're talking about a renowned director. Come on now, please. Please. And, like, the little brother who wasn't actually real turned out to be evil, ghostly stuff. I don't know, it's just stupid. I don't like it, it's stupid. I didn't like the ending because, like, why all of a sudden is the dad sharing the delusion? He hasn't shared the delusion in 10 plus years. Now all of a sudden he is. I don't understand that. So, yeah. I did write down here, on my notes here, a couple things that confused me about this movie. So I'll end off with those. Is Kyoko also Kiriko's mother? So, Kiriko mentions toward the beginning of the movie that their father lost both women he loved. So that implies that Kiriko's mother died too. That both of the men, or the women, well, he's gay, both of the women that her father loved died. Her mother and Daigo's mother. But then, later on, they say that Kiriko is seeing her dead mother, implying that Kyoko is her mother. But that wouldn't make any sense, because when she meets Kyoko, she's not referring to her as her mother. She's actually quite cold towards her, assuming because she felt like her father moved on too quickly from her mom, which probably was the case, hence why she was acting the way that she was. So I was really confused about that, because I thought we were on the same page that Kyoko was not Kiriko's mother, but I guess that I don't know what the movie was going for there. Is this supposed to be like a prequel to Labyrinth? Because it seems like it. So it did kind of really seem like a prequel to Labyrinth. A little spoiler alert for Labyrinth. Again, I might make a video on Labyrinth, but I don't know, because it was kind of boring. I actually did go on my phone a little bit during that movie because I didn't like it. But the staircase that Kiriko ends up dying in and stuff, that's also a very strong focal point in Labyrinth, because it's about this friend group, and one of the friends, they, like, when they were children, they explored this abandoned hospital, the one that we're also in Tormented. They explored it, but their one friend fell down the staircase, and they just kind of left her there to die. And so now she's back haunting them, but she's like an adult, as are the rest of them. And one of the main characters falls down the steps to her, or like falls down the staircase to her death. and then she turns into a mannequin. I don't know what the hell that was all about, but whatever. So the staircase is like significant in Labyrinth too, and it's where Kiriko ends up dying, and this hospital is significant in Tormented, which, by the way, Tormented, I'll put it on the screen because I can't remember it right now, but Tormented has a different Japanese name than the English name. I actually only figured it out when I moved here to Japan that it had a Japanese name. So, but yeah, so I'm not sure if this was supposed to be like a prequel or something, because again, you can watch Labyrinth having never ever watched Tormented, but it seems like you need to have watched Labyrinth to have watched Tormented to get some of these references. I don't know. I don't know if it was just a huge nod to Labyrinth or if it was really a prequel. I'm confused. And then I said the plot twist was predictable, exactly like Labyrinth, because Labyrinth has the plot twist too that their friend, the one who has shown up again, but she's an adult, she's actually dead. She's been dead. She died in that hospital because she fell down the steps and they left her there. Like, so that one was even more predictable than I would say the one in Tormented was, because like you left her there. Of course she died. Like, so yeah. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It's my first one on the channel, so I'm excited about that. My ending thoughts on this movie, would I recommend it? Yeah. Just for like a fun, bad movie to watch if you're bored. Was it a good movie? No. What would I rate it out of 5? A 3. Okay, that's generous just because there were a couple of shots that I was like, "Ooh, that's cool," and it had the actress in it that I liked. And I like the director, even though 2 of the movies I've seen by him have not been good. But it's fine. Takashi Shimizu, you're a good director. I love you. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if there's any movies you want me to talk about next time. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye!